In this video on Oracle 3.0, we are going to talk about creating custom playback templates. Let me go into Preferences, select Play, and show you within the Playback Template area, and you can see the list of templates we have here that can be assigned to the default. Mine are just the factory ones right now. HSSE Elements, add HSO for the Pro and Silence. HSSE stands for Hallian Symphonic SE, and HSO stands for Hallian Symphonic Orchestra. Silence means no playback device is instantiated. As you create custom playback templates, they will show up in this list, and you could choose any one of those to be your default playback template for new projects. Let me go ahead and click out of this, hit Escape, also to get out of this. Speaking of templates, I've already loaded the string quartet template here. Let's go to Play and take a look at what has happened. It has loaded the Hallian Sonic SE as the default playback device. I've added another playback device just to expedite this tutorial, but you would normally just see this if you've gone through my process. If we go over here, I'm going to hold down the Command key and long click. On the PC, that would be Control click, and this exposes the MIDI routing for all my instruments. And you'll see that the quartet all go to the Hallian Sonic SE. They all share MIDI port number 1, but what differentiates them is the MIDI channel assignment 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you like to use instruments from different libraries for your playback, this is a way to set up templates, and I'll show you how to do this. The first step is you can load in new VST instruments over here. I've already loaded an instance of Play to expedite my process of 2 different libraries. Let me instantiate a new library here. So I've got a slot already created, 04. I'm going to navigate down to Contact, and now I'd like to see the player to put in an instrument. I can toggle the E on and off. That will open up my player. Navigate over here to the Contact Factory library, and I've already got strings selected. I'll go to Solo Cello, and it's loaded. One thing I need to verify is the MIDI channel it will receive on. That's MIDI channel 1. I can close Contact now. I'm going to assign this cello to the Contact instrument. So what I need to do, first of all, the MIDI port's fine. I need to change this MIDI channel to MIDI channel 1. Then I need to navigate to Contact. I'm now going to go over here to the instrument and click on the gear wheel. And this is our endpoint setup window. And I could name this something significant. Contact, cello, solo. Further, I could define the number of MIDI ports I need. 1 is fine. Number of MIDI channels, the default is fine. And you can see we have choices here, port and channel verification and assigned instrument. Those are read-only fields that can be modified at the instrument here. What you can modify is the expression map. You can double-click here, and you can get a drop-down menu, navigate to something that might work for your instrument, or simply say, I choose to use the CC11 dynamics that I'm going to build in. Also have a choice of percussion maps here. Further to that, you can modify the number of audio outputs shown in the mixer. We'll just leave it at the default at this point. Now I have 2 choices. I can click OK, this will close, or I can save this as an endpoint configuration. I'm going to save this as an endpoint configuration for a single instrument. And these will appear in a list when we deal with playback templates. So save endpoint configuration. The default name is fine. I'm going to click OK to get out of this. What I haven't done yet is assign my viola to my instance of Play over here. So let me go ahead and click here, and I'll do Play, and I'll need to change my MIDI channel because I know it needs to be 1. So now these should be all correctly mapped. At this point in time, I can save all the instruments as a group endpoint configuration. And to clarify, violin 1 and violin 2 will come from the Hallian Sonic SE, my viola from the Play, and my cello from the Contact. I can save this bundle of instruments by going down here and clicking on Save Endpoint Configuration. I'm going to call this my Dream String Quartet. And navigate up to OK, click on that, and we're done. So where have all these endpoint configurations gone? Well, let's take a look. We're going up to Play, Playback Template. And here you can see the same list that I had when I opened up my preferences. This was all I had in my list. These have little factory icons. You can toggle the view of your factory templates by clicking here. If you had enough of them and you needed to search, you have a search field up here. We can add a new playback template, which we will momentarily. We can duplicate an existing one. That'd be a good idea if you want to edit a factory one, because those are uneditable. Any editable template, you can click on the pencil tool to edit that. You can both export and import. and you can delete any selected template. So let's create a new template. I'm going to hit on plus, and here we have the Edit Playback Template window. So up at the top, we have a text field to name something significantly, and we'll call this the Dream String Quartet with play and contact, and pardon my typo there. So that field is complete. Down here, the ID, this simply updates based on what text you have here. You can't edit this. We have a padlock, and this keeps you from editing description, creator, and version. If I unlock this, I could type in some information here, and change my version number. Good if you're sharing templates, for example. Now we want to add some entries. So we have two choices. If we go over to Add Automatic, we see a menu with our factory playback templates. If I go to Add Manual, I'm going to get a list of the endpoint configurations I've created. It's my contact solo cello. Additionally, I have the play viola I created earlier. Two separate instruments I can bring in by themselves, or I can bring in the combination that I created, the Dream String Quartet. So if we do this and hit OK, you'll see it now shows up in the list, and we can apply this as a playback template to a project. Notice it says play viola solo and contact cello solo. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the original playback template we had. And you can see both instruments updated to the Halion Sonic SE player, and the MIDI channels updated to show that it's channel 3 and 4. Remember, they were both on channel 1 before. Let's go back and bring in the one we just created. Here we have Dream String Quartet. Double clicking on that, you can see it says play viola and contact cello. Perfect. So we're in great shape. Now let's take a look at some other aspects here. Playback template. So let's create yet another playback template. And we'll just call this test because I'm not going to save this. I'm going to navigate to entries, and we're going to take a look at Dorico's ability to filter instruments. I'm going to go ahead and start with the default Halion Sonic SE, and then I'll add my viola endpoint configuration. I'm going to filter out the viola in the Halion Sonic SE. Therefore, during the loading process, it'll skip any violas and we'll move to the play viola endpoint configuration to load a viola. So we need to go down to Family Overrides with this selected, hit the plus sign, we'll navigate to Strings, and we want to further refine that, Instrument Overrides. We're going to go in here and we'll type in viola. We have it there, click OK. So now it will search through here for all instruments except viola, and it'll navigate down to here for viola. Let's take a look at another way to get different libraries to work together here. Let me delete what I have, and I'm going to start again, and I'm going to go ahead and add manual. And here I could add my string quartet, I could add a couple of instruments. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 instruments. And with these configurations, I'm going to also add the Halion Sonic SE. So what I'm telling Dorico now, as it loads in the instruments, to go down this pathway, and if it sees a viola, load it here. If it sees a cello, load it here. If it doesn't see those instruments, load everything else from here, in my case, the 2 violins. Let me go ahead and delete this configuration. In fact, we'll delete all of them here, and let's start over. We could actually have a collection of instruments, such as my string quartet. And let's go in now and add the Halion Sonic SE. So now, Dorico brings in the instruments. It will look through this configuration first to load any string quartet. And then if there were any other instruments in my project, it would load them from the Halion Sonic SE library. So different ways to tell Dorico to assign instruments from different libraries. So let me hit cancel to get out of that. And let me go ahead and close this. So that's all I'd like to talk about in this particular tutorial. As always, thanks for watching. Hope this gives you a tip or trick or two, and we'll catch you on the next one.